For those that have just joined this conversation, for those that may be new to the show, this is an opinion show. This is one where we don't hold back, and it's one where we have been focused on the past couple of days about the political consequences of the Optus outages. Now, the main one, of course, was the failure for its customers to be able to access 000. But in chapter and verse, we have gone through and shown that there have been many failings from the Communications Minister, who wants to distract to pretend that she's going to wave her finger and everyone will fall into line. Well, the reality is that she's tried almost every position here to change the subject, from pleading ignorance.
I'm still a new minister to the industry, so I would say I'm listening to everybody at the moment.
To playing the emotional card.
I absolutely lose sleep over this.
To getting indignant when people point out that she spent her time at the United Nations rather than in Australia trying to deal with this situation.
The Leader of the Opposition should apologise for calling that work swanning around.
Well, we have the photos to prove it at the very least. Now, today, big jump forward, because the minister is now being accused of misleading the parliament, put simply, telling a lie. Now, all of this has to do with when she first knew about the problems that took place a couple of weeks ago when it came to Optus. Remember the results of all of this, and Optus is the main villain. But I'm talking about the people who swan around trying to change the subject or own the aftermath, all right? In many ways, again, those that may well have just tuned in for what we've just put to air, and this might be a new experience, we try to follow the grains of sand on the beach rather than just step back and have the view. We get right into the detail because I think that it helps arm you better for arguments and an understanding of how things actually work, including when a politician like Anika Wells is trying to pull the wool over your eyes and pretend nothing to see here, the Jedi mind trick, the Men in Blank memory device. Well, again, we learnt in Senate estimates, and again, no one pays attention to Senate estimates in the real world. Thankfully, it's my job to look at it for you. And this is one of the few places left where you can actually squeeze an answer out of public servants who otherwise are there, of course, to do the bidding of the politicians, but they have to answer. They can't dodge necessarily in a way that politicians do. Well, all of this has to do, again, with on what day did the minister know what was going on? This is what she said today was when she first knew about the problems with Optus. Problems that in part were made worse because of the failure of this government to put a watchdog in place like they promised to do back in April of 2024.
As is a matter of public record, I became aware of the major Optus outage on the 19th September at approximately 4:30 p.m. after my office was contacted by Optus.
Only problem is the paperwork, the receipts, the paper trail show that her office was aware a day earlier. This was the Department of Communications, of whom the ultimate figure of responsibility is the minister. Is her claim here that, well, there was nothing to see, we waited a day? Well, sorry. If you knew and your people knew but they didn't pass up the information a day earlier, why? And again, we've seen all of the different cards that have been played here. So Anika Wells tries to go into boss mode, tries to go into a mode where she can just bat away the questions like there's nothing to see here. Again, it's about basic accountability. I don't know, that's an old-fashioned thing because Daniel Andrews is walking around with a little gold award for services to public health, despite the fact that he ignored it when he was dealing with COVID a couple of years ago. But accountability matters, and you knowing where the leaders of our country let you down is the whole point of the process. Hence the question that came from the Libs today to this minister.
My question is to the Minister for Communications. Minister, when you were advised of a 000 outage that your department had no idea about, why didn't your office raise it with your department immediately? Was it because you were planning your well-publicised trip to a pub in New York?
Was there an immediate answer? No. Instead, the protection racket now started to operate around the minister because Tony Burke, who is the Leader of the House, was trying to rule that question to be not allowable. Here in part is how he tried to save the day today for this minister who comes up with a new excuse with every outfit.
Point of order, Mr Speaker. I refer to your earlier instruction that all references to you are in fact references to the Speaker. There were 5 violations of that in the 30 seconds of that question.
Funnily enough, all of that was garbage and she eventually had to answer, but I won't bother showing you because it was a bunch of blah, blah. Now, if all of this who knew what and when and do I have to remember from a couple of weeks ago just starts to strain the brain, let me focus in on something else. This politician has done everything they possibly can to get themselves in front of a camera to state the rage at the failures of the company, which is the main part of the story. But interestingly, when she was confronted with, have you bothered to pick up the telephone and try to contact any of the families of those who ended up losing someone because the 000 system didn't work on your watch? Her answer may shock you.
Has the Minister personally phoned each family to apologise for the Albanese Labor government's inaction? Have I spoken with the families? I have spoken with Optus, the company who has failed Australians and these families here.
Otherwise known as no. So let's try that again.
Thank you, Mr Speaker.
She'll be heard in silence.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I refer to the Minister's previous answer, where she refused to address whether welfare checks had been conducted. It is an open secret in the press gallery that Labor MPs are complaining to journalists the Minister continually fails to show any compassion for victims. Today, secret emails have revealed the Minister's office was aware of this crisis 24 hours before the time which the Minister told the House she found out. Yesterday, the Minister refused to apologise for this failure. Will the Minister finally now apologise to victims and their families?
So let's go through the excuses. I'm a new minister, don't come to me with anything. She's been a cabinet minister for many years now. She was a minister in plenty of other portfolios as soon as the government changed a couple of years ago. Then she's been losing sleep over all of it. Well, if that was the case, can you make 4 phone calls to the family members of those who have been let down by the system? Yes, Optus is the main villain here, but you're claiming that you've been losing sleep. And then, of course, the carry on about how dare you even ask me this? Well, let's see what happens here when it comes to talking to the families, Mark 2.
I would absolutely meet with affected families if that's what they wished. I am respecting their space. There are, of course, many sensitivities here, and I'm not going to make their lives harder by politicising their grief in this place, as you have now done 2 days in a row.
Now to bring up any questions whatsoever means you're going low and you're politicising the families, politicising the deaths. When 24 hours ago, that's exactly what Anika Wells was doing in service of the social media ban in the Parliament.
The member would know if they had met with the bereaved families who have been lobbying for these laws for many years, people like Rob Evans, who was carrying his daughter Liv's ashes in an urn when he came to this place and begged us to act.
Yeah, nothing to see here. When I do it, it's not politicising. When you do it, oh, what a disgrace. Yes, that is how I would describe the Minister and her handling of this situation. Optus is the main culprit. But if you want to talk about this all day, every day, and you want to pretend that you're going to be the knight in shining pantsuit who's going to be able to roll in and change things, then you're going to be held accountable for the failures of your government and of your personal judgment. I'll continue to do so as long as we remain on the air. Remember, she is the Communications Minister after all.